Welcome to Whisperwood Stories. Today, we read 2 stories from r/shortscarystories. Let's begin. Our first story is from Ulatekh. Petty Tyranny. Little Audrey sat on the floor of her room, reading her pop-up book. She took a drink from her sippy cup and set it back down on the floor. It tilted over and fell, spilling a small amount of juice.
Oopsie.
She squeaked and quickly righted it. Suddenly, the window of her room shattered as a masked, armored police officer swung through it on a rope and shielded herself from the broken glass. Similar sounds rang out from the rest of the house, followed by heavy footsteps. The cop pinned her to the ground as the other cops entered the room. They began tearing the place to shreds. One kicked the sippy cup in his haste, sending it flying towards the wall where it burst open. Grape juice ran down the wall and formed a sticky puddle. Audrey squealed in terror. "Shut up!" the cop yelled. "You're in enough trouble already." The sergeant swaggered over to her, eyes flaring, holding a pen and pad. "You spilled juice all over the wall. Vandalism. 3 years.
I didn't do that.
Audrey blubbered. "You liar," the sergeant shouted. "It was like that when we got here. You're looking at perjury for that, you little psycho. 5 years. Oh, little girl's clean, Sergeant," a cop informed him. "No contraband found." "Fine," the sergeant demurred. "Head back to the MRAP." The police stampeded out of Audrey's room and left the house. "Didn't we pick you up for stealing an animal a few months ago?" the sergeant accused.
I just wanted to pet the kitty,
Audrey pleaded. "Your motive is irrelevant." The sergeant glared at Audrey. "That sentence was suspended as long as you stayed out of trouble. Now it's back. 7 years. Audrey just gaped, trembling. "You're a repeat offender, little missy," the sergeant roared as he poked Audrey forcefully. "How come you can't seem to behave? What's wrong with you?" She stared back at him with tear-filled eyes.
I don't know,
she mumbled. "Another lie!" he screamed. "You know damn well why you can't behave." He scribbled on his pad. "Perjury! Another 5 years." Audrey started openly bawling. The sergeant rolled his eyes. "A blatant attempt at emotional manipulation. This is not going to help your case." The sergeant briskly underlined each charge on his pad. "You're looking at 20 years in prison, but your trial won't start for months. The courts are too backlogged. Until then, you'll be kept separate from the rest of the prison population in solitary confinement." He gestured at the cop who had just finished securing a hood over Audrey's head. "Take her away." The hood muffled Audrey's cries. The cop shoved her roughly towards the door. She walked as fast as she was able to. The lieutenant and sergeant watched Audrey as she left. "I don't know how kids that young can become such hardened criminals." He sighed. The sergeant shook his head. "Me either. I mean, is it something we're doing wrong?" The lieutenant simply shrugged. Our last story is from Fireside Chats. Love Bites. I knew she was the one from the moment that I laid eyes on her. She was small, with dark hair that flowed past her waist. When she turned her green eyes on me, I felt as though she could see every secret, as if she knew me better than I knew myself. I asked her if she'd like to get a coffee. She said yes. Simple as that. Things moved quickly between us. A part of me wanted to just let go and bask in the glory of our love, but another part held back. I really loved her, you see. And with every kiss, every surprise gift, every murmured, "I love you," I was getting closer to the precipice. I am not what I appear to be. I would have to tell her eventually, I knew. But then she'd turn away from me, flee if she was smart, which she was. I couldn't give myself to her fully without losing her. Little did I know that she had her own secrets. It was a Saturday night. We cuddled on the couch, watching her favorite horror flick. Somewhere around the second murder, I started to drift off. Not uncommon, due to my strange work schedule. Usually, she'd shake me awake when the credits rolled, tease me for sleeping through the best part, and lead me by the hand to our bedroom. This time, my wake-up call wasn't so gentle. My first sensation was pain, piercing, concentrated pain in my neck. It lasted only a moment before I felt soft lips against the wound. My eyes fluttered open as blood gushed, and I looked down, confused. My girlfriend sat curled beside me, hungrily consuming my blood. Terror filled me, and I pushed her off. "Cheyenne, no!" But it was too late. Blood trickled down her chin as she began to gag, her alabaster skin turning gray, the veins beneath blackening. I held her face in my hands, tears streaming down my face as she looked at me in horror. "Why didn't you tell me?" I whispered as she began to convulse, her eyes rolling up into her head. A few moments later, she lay still, and her body began to dissolve. I was left with ashes in my hands and tears on my cheeks. This was all my fault. I should have warned her. You see, vampires can only feed from the living. Thank you for listening to Whisperwood Stories. If you enjoyed, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe down below. Do you have a story that you'd like me to read here? Consider commenting or sending it to whisperwoodsubmissions@gmail.com. The stories in this video were read and slightly altered with the author's permissions. Thank you again for listening, and be sure to check out the original Reddit posts. Don't let the shadows get too close.